trafficking ring. He's a hedge fund manager who has powerful political connections that include former President Clinton. Epstein is already a registered sex offender, pleading guilty back in 2008 to charges of soliciting and procuring a minor for prostitution.
Welcome, everybody. We have got Ryan Dawson back. He's one of the people who caused the YouTube channel to gain so much momentum and also caused a lot of controversy and getting banned. But we are on uncensored platforms today. He can say what the bloody hell he likes. And
nice.
if many of you are familiar with Ryan, I'm sure already, but for those who are not, I mean, he goes back decades researching Epstein. He was a pioneer in this subject. I'll hand it over to him in a minute, and we're going to start out basically going into the Epstein client list. So huge thank you for coming back, Ryan.
Yeah, we got his list right here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been an ongoing multi-year project between us. Even I think it was 2019 or something. First time I came on to talk about Epstein. Whew. It's odd. It's almost seemed like, damn, it's over. So many of them got away with it, and now there's this renewed interest and files being released. Files that sort of had been leaked around anyway, but now it's official. So it's good because there are a lot of more people that should not see the sunshine anymore.
I thought it had completely tapered off, Ryan, and I was kind of taken aback by the virality of it presently. It just seems like it's trending and it's just gone completely massive all over again, day after day.
You still have Stein's lawsuit. You still have the Virgin Island, some of that lawsuit to go, and the Deutsche Bank, so it's not over. Andrew had to pay his price. I don't have this anymore, but I'll show you the shirt I made with the Fresh Prince of Belgravia. Epstein there. They got to pay 16 million pounds or something.
Wow.
The company we made these with, they censored that too. So that was a limited item on accident. Yeah. But he had to pay a price. Jean-Luc Brunel went to jail and allegedly killed himself. Epstein went to jail and allegedly killed himself. Glenn Maxwell's in jail. Peter Nygaard got put in jail, and a lot of people lost a lot of money quietly. A lot of these banks were paying $64 million lawsuits, and Leon Black had to lose a position. But still, Les Wexner's walking around, Glenn Dubin's walking around. A lot of these perverts still have their freedom, Jess Staley, and they shouldn't.
Could you explain that, Ryan? Why are these banks paying tens of millions to Epstein survivors? I mean, how does that work?
Well, they just settle and say, look, I guess it's worth it to them because the alternative, they'd lose it all. They'd lose what's at stake? What are these survivors alleging the bank's role was in Epstein's enterprise? Different things. So the Denise George lawsuit out of the Virgin Islands, Virginia. I'm thinking of Virginia Giuffre in my head for some reason. Virgin Islands was it started off with Darren Endike and had been moving Epstein money around, and we kept seeing these little $20,000 allotments to young women. It's obviously hush money, but he has his 1953 trust. He has a lot of his that $577 million that's locked in this trust, and payments are still being made even though he's gone, and Maxwell's in jail. So what's going on there? And I think, some of the people he named to be in charge didn't want it. They're like, no, I don't want to be associated with Epstein. Tried to act like they barely knew him when they definitely did. The Nathan Myhrvold and people like that. So it seems to be hush money to keep more victims to happy enough to keep their mouth shut. And they have to do this decision. Do I just take this money, or do I go up against the billionaires and maybe get nothing?
So are these survivors alleging that these banks were instrumental in financing the trafficking honeypot operation?
Oh, yeah. And I'm saying even after he died, they kept paying.
Even after he died?
Yeah. So I'm saying the hush money is happening since he's passed away.
Yeah.
And that's what they're like, whoa, what could this possibly be for, this automatic payment? If you look at the Denner Hastert case, He'd always move like $9,990 or something, because anything above 10 would get you a red flag, because that was inside the United States. He was the Speaker of the House. So after the president and vice president, that's the most powerful position. And he had raped little boys going way back when he was like a wrestling camp coach or something. And he was paying off a few of them to be quiet. And, you know, when you see, like, why are you paying this random dude $9,000 all the time? What's going on? And it was hush money. And some of these victims basically are paid for silence. That's the easiest way to deal with it. And a lot of people, 20 grand, if you're poor, you're not poor anymore. You know, you just collect. And I think also, why don't they come forward? If you think about it, I think it's a very hard choice, because you look at him, you look at his connections, you look at his lawyers, you look at his wealth, you're probably not going to do well in court. Especially when you're raped, it's just kind of your word versus theirs. It's not, you don't have any tapes or anything. They do. You have nothing. But they still don't want the headache of it, because if enough people keep accusing all the same people, it'll be detrimental to them, if not in court, from their own wife or from something, you know. So, but yeah, it's mysterious why they're still moving this money to these people. What are these payments for? And they decided, we don't want to tell you what they're for. We're just going to settle this up and pay a lump sum and walk away.
So is there still a huge something that could come out? I mean, is the client list stuff, is that pushing us closer towards a huge something that could come out to the public?
Well, yeah, I mean, even with still sticking with the Virgin Islands lawsuit, in this, they also showed some they still hidden a lot of this, but some of the emails back and forth between Epstein and bankers like Jess Staley have come to light. This guy was visiting, he works at Barclays now. This is a guy that was visiting Epstein properties when he wasn't even there. He would go to Palm Beach when Epstein was wherever and doing what they do there. And he's writing to him these weird stuff, like he apparently had some Disney princess fetish, and he would say how, you know, Snow White was awesome. Who's next? How about Beauty and the Beast? And Epstein's like, well, I can provide the beauty, but not the beast. Ha ha ha. Just, they think that's funny to dress up the children and role play as princesses from Disney movies. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, how can you explain that? What exactly are you doing? Oh, well, these adult women dressed as Snow White and stuff. You still creep. And given that it's on Epstein property, you know it wasn't. You know it was kids. But these are the kind of people, and he made these relationships at Bear Stearns, at Tower Financial, at all these little LLCs he set up. It's with these perverts. And this is something I'd like to stress for the public to understand. Maxwell and Epstein were an Israeli blackmail operation. That's what they're supposed to be doing, is spying on American science and technology. That was their primary role, like official role. But they realized early on, hey, we can rape for pleasure because we're with the Israelis. They won't do anything to us. I mean, they can kill babies and nothing happens, so nothing will happen. So when you see this stuff, like where they had cameras all over all their houses, and people go, oh yeah, that's to tape people having sex so they can blackmail them. Like, no, it's not. How are you going to use that? Think this through. If I film Alan Dershowitz getting a blowjob in the kitchen from a 12-year-old, okay, he's toast, but now what? It's in my kitchen. I have to explain why there's a 12-year-old kid in my kitchen with my life. Like, you're incriminating yourself if you ever choose to use this, because it happened on your property with people who aren't supposed to be there. So why are you actually taping these things? Because it was fun. They wanted to rewatch it. It's that part wasn't the blackmail. It was rape for pleasure, and it was bonuses. People were like, oh yeah, I got this bank deal with that. Yeah, come over. I got a couple of 12-year-olds. You know, they're twins. Burnell sent them twins for his birthday, or triplets, I think it was.
Triplets.
Yeah, triplets. Yeah. And what a bunch of sickos, man. They're all participating in it, and the victims have come out and said what happened to them. They used sex toys on them, and there was anal rape and forced homosexual encounters with straight people. You know, making a woman eat out a girl's pussy, and they like to film that. Oh, what's her first lesbian experience, and zoom in and get that. Like, they're collecting this stuff, like these sicko perverts that they are. That was not like what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be doing like when they got Clinton, for example. Whatever Clinton does in Epstein's house is safe because Epstein can't say anything. It's in his house. What he does in the White House is not safe. So what they come down on him? Monica Lewinsky. That was a honey trap. That was Israel. That's what he's supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to invite him down to your ranch and do it there. I mean, you could give it to Mrs. Clinton, but she knew and she was involved in the same kind of stuff. We went over that before. So that was why I think they got rearrested was twice. You know, he got arrested twice. The first time was because he had gotten sloppy, and it actually helped protect all of his cohorts. And because Epstein got the minimal punishment for one incident of like one prostitute, which was not a prostitute because she's a girl underage, but that's what they said, soliciting prostitution. 6 days a week on work leave. You're really only in jail for a day a week. Still get to be on, like, you do your business and stuff. Staley's visiting him in jail. He's one of the main guys. All your cohorts get immunity. So the fastest way to shut this down, and that's what Maxwell tried to argue in her trial later when she got arrested, was, no, I was one of the cohorts. I have immunity. Like, no, you don't. Here you are emailing him after that trial. Still in this, so this is new stuff, and we're gonna get you. And now she's in jail. But just like all these people, the Emmy Taylor and Sarah Kellen and all the other groomers and all the other perverts, they all like, oh no, you can't touch us. Then we got the sweetheart deal, and that was Barry Kirscher and Alan Dershowitz that got that deal. And Alan Dershowitz has also been accused of child rape, and he says these weird things like, okay, I did get a massage on Epstein properties, but I kept my underwear on. What a weird way to phrase something. Not I had my underwear on, or I kept them on. Oh, so you could have had them off. And then he even said, were there underage girls giving massages in other rooms of the house that I wasn't in? Yeah, you did. And then later, years later, he does another interview and where he changed his story. He said, I got a neck and back massage from an older woman named Olga. No underwear, none of that. I just got a neck and back massage. Oh, really? Did you need to take your pants off for that? Because you said you're in your underwear. Yeah. What's going on, Dershowitz? I think everything out of that guy's mouth is a lie. He called Virginia Roberts a prostitute, said she made her own decisions. Like, she was being raped when she was 13 by a different pervert and then got passed to Epstein. You know, and Glenn Maxwell recruited her from Mar-a-Lago properties that Trump owned. And Trump eventually kicked them both off the property, kicked the Maxwell and Epstein off. So he gave some hints too. Epstein likes him a little young, he said. And yet the press was all after him. But the prosecutor said Trump was one of the only people who was actually cooperative, set time aside, and told us what he knew. They didn't interview Bill Clinton. And he's on these flights dozens of times. However, no victim has come forward to say they slept with Clinton. They just saw him. He's there with topless girls around the pool and all. So maybe he was into women. Maybe he was getting money for the Clinton Foundation. Maybe all of the above. Or maybe nobody wants to say anything about Clinton because then you get Clintoned.
Well, look at all the girls that was brought over that didn't even speak English, that we've never heard from Jean-Luc Brunel, from, Europe and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, he had these modeling agencies, and this seems to be what I think was going down. The Israelis had, like, MC Squared started as Karen models out of Tel Aviv. Then it's Paris with Jean-Luc Brunel. Then they go to New York and Miami, Wexner has Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie, and Abercrombie has a child division for child models. So it's a pretext to falsely say, oh yeah, this is for the Wexner, this is for Abercrombie, And then once you get them away, take their passport, forced brothel thing. There was a pipeline from Kiev to Tel Aviv of human trafficking run by Pincus Green and Mark Rich, who Clinton's pardoned. That was a separate thing, and that predated Epstein and Maxwell. But They all know each other. I mean, that's the thing. Robert Maxwell knew the Wexners way back, and the Wexner Foundation founding president was Rabbi Herbert Friedman. He's on my NUMEC map, who was a notorious hardcore Zionist and part of the UJA and JA that did gun running and human trafficking. The good kind, like they started with, well, we're trafficking people out of Europe to avoid the Holocaust to get to Palestine, which becomes Israel. Not all of them knew it was going to be a Zionist apartheid state. They're just trying to live, so they run away. But those organizations didn't disappear after the war, which we won. They still had this very well financed and organized system for moving people around. And so they kept moving people around, and sex slavery thrived because a lot of places were completely impoverished after World War II to starvation levels. And women turned to prostitution, guys turned to drugs and mercenary work, and a lot of them ended up in forced situations. And Rich and Green and these guys took advantage of that. Minnock and Beg, they all knew. Everyone knew what was going on. This is sort of the precursor to what sets up the Sonneborn Institute from Rudolf Sonneborn, moving guns, uranium even, to the illegal nuclear program that Israel ended up developing. But those guys, it's out of these mega donors with Nathan Barnstein and Eli Hibla Silver and the rabbi that starts the Wexner Foundation, which becomes the mega group. That's sort of the second generation, is the Steinhardt, Wexner, Bronfman. Actually, Bronfman was both. It just went from Samuel to Charles and Edgar. And that's the guys, again, president of the World Jewish Congress, head of the United Israel Appeal, which becomes the United Jewish Appeal. This is the same organization, though. And they financed the NXIVM cult. Claire and Sarah Bronfman got indicted, and one of them went to jail over that, where Keith Raniere was branding women. They also donated money to the Wexner Foundation and to Ehud Barak, the Prime Minister of Israel, at the sweet spot when Epstein and Maxwell had, they're pictured in the White House with Clinton in 93. Louis Freach, the head director of the FBI in 96, is also an Epstein client. So they got the president and they got the head of the FBI. They're free to go. Like, once you've flipped the policing institutions, now you can start going after the universities, science, tech, R&D, the donor class, and that's what they hit, the donor class and R&D. Then that's when you get Gates and all these bankers, hedge fund managers, the Leon Black. Leon Black seemed to be a pervert already, though, with those art schools in New York, from what I'm gathering a lot of that now. Brunel was already a pervert. But what happened was the Israeli ring with that sort of Windsor Mossad, you can call it, that's what Maria Farmer calls it, the Windsor Mossad. The girls, the Victoria's Secret level kind that you can use to UN parties and stuff on honey trap people, was the more professional prostitution, for lack of a better word, that the Israelis made. Gathering girls from high schools in trailer parks is something that Maxwell and Ivana Trump and Epstein did on their own. And that's what really led to their demise. If they had just kept it how it was, it wouldn't have unraveled. But grabbing Americans who do speak English and will tell on you, and will, like, American women are not to be fucked with, and they had resources. These girls they grabbed from Romania and Ukraine and stuff, there's no one at home to help. They can't speak the language. They're done, but some of these girls, at least, really, Maria Farmer went to the FBI right away. It's just a long time ago. Her sister was molested and raped, and so if they'd listened to them back then, there wouldn't have been this 27-year escapade of rape and pimping and the disgust, which also led to a lot of white-collar crime, because that's the leverage they had on people. But what I want everyone to understand is, I do know, and I'm one of the first people to say this was a blackmail operation tied to the Mossad. They're meeting with Ehud Barak 36 times. They're financed by Wexner and Bronfman and all these prominent Zionists that are involved in all the other Israeli projects. But what they're doing in their little rape mansions on their little side quest, Israel, as disgusting as it is not going to okay that, because it's sloppy. And that's how you get busted. But it shouldn't work at all. why are so many people into kitty fucking? Like, why? Like, it don't matter how many kids you have. Most people are not attracted to children, just biologically not attracted to children. And yet, so many of these people actually made a shirt with a list on it. Are. This is what they want.
Wow.
On one side,
that's impressive, man.
On the other. And these are really wealthy people. Glenn Dubin, Conrad Black, Michael Steinhardt, Wexner, all the Bromptons, Jamie Dimon, Robert Kraft, Leon Black, Thomas Lee, Mort Zuckerman, the Pritzker family. Like, it is bad, man. Larry Summers. These are billionaires. Why are they into this? Why would you want to do this? Why would you compromise yourself? How bad do you need to rape a child? I mean, I guess you could buy everything else. That's something so illegal and taboo. You need a network to do it. But everyone has to realize all our institutions failed. I mean, you couldn't find a real normal person from any countries like child molesting, child rape, just rape at all. Even is like one of the most disturbing, disgusting things there is. It's like right there. Maybe murder and torture. That's about all. It's worse than that. It is a form of torture, really. So, and to do it to kids, and then to be a serial rapist and do it over and over again. They're slaves. Everyone thinks that's the epitome of evil, except the people that run everything. Because you've got dozens of billionaires. You've got presidents, plural. You've got prime ministers, from Tony Blair, Ehud Barak, Ehud Omar, Perez. They're all these. Another president, Moshe Katsav, who got convicted of rape. You've got Hollywood producers like Weinstein, and that came in the new files, by the way. It's something new, but now with this file dump, Harvey Weinstein and Abigail Wexner were making requests to talk to Epstein to meet together as a trio. So the Wexners and Weinstein had a relationship. Abigail Wexner is Les Wexner's wife. Yeah. And they have the Abigail Les Wexner fund too. And it's a money laundering operation. I'm sure they bought a bunch of paintings from Hunter Biden. But, so you have all that. Then you've got the media failed. Well, sorta, because there were people in media like Vicky Ward and what's her name? Roblox, her last name, from ABC. Amy, I think. They're like, we had it. We had Clinton, we had names, all this, and they killed the story. And the Vanity Fair editor killed the story. And he's thinking, what are you doing? This is the biggest story ever. This huge public interest. If you would tell them about this. The mass media failed. Social media failed. You and I tried to talk about it. They took your channel away. They took my whole channel away. They temporarily took yours away. And then, we were forced to Rumble or Locals or somewhere if you want to talk about it. You couldn't put it on Twitter. You definitely can't put it on Facebook or Meta. Why? Why are they protecting serial child rapists? So, okay, you've got your top leadership, your billionaires, your hedge funds, your banks, your media, your social media, and even the prison system itself failed as they let him die. Allegedly all by himself. Yeah. He was murdered. He even told the prison guards they're going to have me killed. He got beat up, but he said, I tried to kill myself so he would be put on suicide watch, thinking that'll be harder for him to get me if someone's always watching me. Well, they just took him off of it and then killed him anyway. But he knew too much. Every single institution failed, from the FBI to the press to the prison system, the government, even royal families. Nobody would help these girls. Nobody listened. The police departments too, they got bribed. Not all of them, like they would go to Epstein's house, but he set up this LLC. Gratitude America was one of them. There's another one that had was like generic, like Science something Foundation, whatever. But they would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Palm Beach Police Department. So enough pigs run the payroll where they would call ahead and say, we're coming at 9:00. So they could just clean up. Please come. Don't find anything. Leave. You can't keep harassing the same person over and over. So each time there was a failed time where they came to the show, Didn't work. And his own bodyguards and employees essentially have said, yeah, they would call ahead. So we knew they were coming. It didn't matter. And also, every time that happens, the girls get more disheartened. Oh, the cops did come. And they just laughed and made them go away. So they're like, I have no one to tell. You can't just call the FBI. You can't, hey, FBI. Like, you can't do that. They were trapped. I can't imagine how they felt. I'm stuck here. This guy knows everyone. The world's run by demons. Like, there's every institution fails. Where do we go? But I guess what happened was there were enough journalists, and at least in New York, after he'd messed up so bad, trying to blackmail the wrong person, they scooped him up in the airport before he had time to do anything. And it was exactly when all his cohorts were somewhere else. They stung him on his way back from France, or maybe it was in Newark, actually, in New Jersey, not New York. But they grab him, and no one is around to start cleaning up the property. They hit his house. They find a safe. It's full of CDs and tapes, a diploma, a weird passport, loose diamonds, all this unexplained stuff. They photograph it. They don't have a warrant. It disappeared. It went missing. And then Richard Kahn shows up. Oh, here it is. Days later. Oh, I'm sure this is the same stuff. You just wrote the same words, maybe. But like, who knows? I want to know, okay, if you have that now and he's dead, one of his cohorts has been convicted and is in jail, why not show what's on at least one CD? Why not show the titles of the CDs? What did the Israelis have to give you to make that go under the rug? They're not going to show it. But now the public all knows they exist. And I was very happy this week to see sort of rehashed articles to invigorate the momentum behind this, going, hey, there are tapes, hundreds of documents, a lot of them tapes and CDs. And that had to be in the 90s, because at a certain point it's just going to be digital. And they have them on these. This is their earliest crimes. And they're just sitting on it. Like, that needs to be, I want what's ever on that, and I want to know what he told his psychiatrist in jail. Because she or he has privilege not to say anything, but if he is worried, I can't tell anyone, they're going to kill me, that's the person to talk. You go on suicide watch, you get to talk to a therapist. Well, you tell that therapist everything. Of course, that therapist is probably like, I don't want to die. But man, they need to write that all out and somehow leak it. I don't know. This will not stay secret forever, though.
Ryan, Jeffrey Epstein's brother was on Piers Morgan last night here in the UK. I don't know if you saw it. He adamantly refused to speak about the sex trafficking operation. He said he was just there to speak about the murder of his brother. And he was adamant about the cover-up.
His brother was murdered. And Mark Epstein did a second. I didn't see the Piers Morgan. He blocked me on Twitter. Anybody that's supporting the Israeli genocide of Gaza just needs their head examined. But Mark Epstein is a real estate broker in New York, and many of the properties that were housing Jean-Luc Brunel's models were there by Mark Epstein. And the one at 71st on Fifth Avenue, 9 and 71st, that Epstein, the big great mansion in New York that Wexner gave him, $51 million mansion that he sold for $1, had an underground heated sidewalk passageway to adjacent properties. I don't know if you've seen the news today in New York. The tunnels are kind of popular. What the hell are they doing? But the girls are often housed right next door. And when Ehud Barak would visit, young girls would be going in and out of the house, in and out of the house. And the way they had right there in the vestibule was a place where they'd wait and get their foot rubbed. It would start with, you need someone to just come up and start rubbing your feet. You're like, it's just it's just my socks, I guess. And it would kind of escalate. They're very good at roping them in. And all these Israeli prime ministers are perverts. Like, they're constantly being caught for sexual harassment. Omer stuck his tongue up some journalist's nose he had pinned on the wall. Creepy, weird stuff. But yeah, Mark Epstein is also on the flight logs where it'll say JEGMET. So that's Jeffrey Epstein, Glenn Maxwell, and probably Amy Taylor. And then Mark Epstein plus one female. Doesn't even get a name. Just one female. That doesn't mean he's involved, but it means he had to know because he's on the plane with some kid. Like, who's that? And Glenn has, Amy Taylor sued Julie for defamation, saying, I'm not Glenn Maxwell's slave. It's like, okay.
If you're interested in the Epstein case, I take a much deeper dive in my books, which are available worldwide on Amazon. We've got Who Killed Epstein, Prince Andrew or Bill Clinton. Virginia Giuffre alleged that Epstein ordered her to have sex with Prince Andrew 3 times, including an orgy on the pedo island, which included underage European girls. On the Lolita Express, Bill Clinton was photographed with Epstein's sex slaves. After Epstein was suicided, both men denied any knowledge of his crimes. This book examines the roles of Epstein and his accomplices in the honey trap operation and the likelihood of a royal prince or an ex-president being co-conspirators in his assassination. That's Who Killed Epstein. Then I've got Elite Predators, from Jimmy Savile and Lord Mountbatten to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. In 2022, Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison after she had procured teenage girls for Epstein and his predator pals. The connections included the most powerful people in the world, ranging from royal family members such as Prince Andrew to former presidents including Bill Clinton. While the mainstream media protects the innermost circles of the establishment, this book reveals the harrowing truth of elite child molesters and the calculated methods they employ to conceal their horrific activities, which often span decades. And then more recently, I've released Untouchable Jimmy Savile. Savile was a practicing Catholic who raped young boys and girls and had sex with corpses. He was a God-fearing believer who participated in satanic rituals. He was an unprecedentedly generous charity fundraiser who was too tight to buy his own meals. He was a friend of princes and dukes who ate bacon sandwiches at his local Greasy Spoon. He was a peace activist who tied up troublemakers in his nightclubs and had them brutally beaten. He was a furry godfather who hated children. Untouchable Jimmy Savile demolishes the mainstream media narratives portrayed in Netflix's and the BBC's documentary, and we show that Savile's behavior was enabled by the most powerful members of the establishment for whom he was a fixer and a procurer. So these 3 books are available worldwide on Amazon, paperback, ebook, audiobook. They've got hundreds of 5-star reviews. Check them out.
Okay. But you're on the plane with her over 50 times and you're underage. What are you doing? You're the secretary or something. Like, come on.
Well, look at the flight logs for Bill Clinton, all the East European girls' names that were on, and he was doing it without his security detail.
Yeah. And he's actually pictured like patting them on the butt and stuff. And if you're going to do it, that's, get the ones that don't speak English. And, and some of them, at least his were like 17. There is a difference. It's all messed up, but the guys that were dipping down to like 12 are really, really disturbing. It's bad, man. But yeah, he seemed to have that. That was his preference, I guess, was the Eastern Europeans. They got a lot of them. It was easier to ship them in from there. It's hard to just get a person, their parents or somebody's gonna say, where are you? What's going on? It's hard to just own somebody. But if you get a foreign contract and they go, oh, I'm going to go model for and then they work in a massage parlor, and we all know that it was just a rape ring with a massage theme. Whoever's at home, they don't know. And some of these girls, the money was a lot, and they're like, I don't know, they took the deal because they're kids. They don't know what they're doing. at first you're like, oh, $300, that's a lot of money in Ukraine, and it's not so bad. They start rationalizing it in their head. They don't know you're being groomed, you're being taken advantage of. This is totally wrong and totally going to mess you up psychologically. And it did, but they start blaming themselves. But I took the money. That's the messed up thing, to hand someone $200 after you force them to disrobe, where you jerk off in front of them. As it was, start slow and go up. They're like, at that time, they're like, well, I've already done it, so if I don't take the money, it was all for nothing. I might as well take this. And then once they take it, they feel like, oh, did I sell that? It's it's the way they're messing with little kids. And then they were like, well, you took the money. So they would do that with legal prostitution. The Saudis, Alan Khashoggi, not the one that got sawed up, his relative, would go on these yachts full of prostitutes, and they did the most disgusting stuff, like stepping on their hair and peeing on their face, making them eat bugs and spanking them like real bad, like brutally. And but they got paid, and they got paid a lot, like way more than $300, like $300,000 sometimes. But just to be abused for days by all these Saudi princes and stuff. In their head, it's like everything you had to do was legal, because they said, we're paying for this. Prostitution is legal, so they want to play with your butthole, put a bug in your mouth. I'm not sure how that's like, hey, that's just food, whatever. Eat off them, whip them, poop on them, and they get to do whatever they want, because that's like what you signed up for. But later, they got that's going to haunt them for a long time, even if it was legal.
Right.
It's
and in these scenarios, does it ever get to the situations that you've researched where they snuff the girls out afterwards?
I've seen incidents where they drop them off naked in like their granddad's yard and humiliate the hell out of them. But usually with Epstein, since he's into the children, he would just move them to the next ring where just young women was okay. Then maybe they snuffed them or whatever, but like they would graduate. God, they'd graduate to the next pervert that wanted the 20-year-old or too old for Epstein. But you'd seem like there ought to be a lot more victims coming forward. So whether they got on drugs, suicide, I think a lot of them probably like died from overdoses and stuff because they didn't handle it. And yeah, but then they weren't like Epstein didn't have hitmen and stuff like that. Israel take care of that. If someone's really running their mouth, they'll go shut her up. Clinton would do it, no problem. The Clintons are deep in the mafia, man. They'd been running with like cartel and Nicaraguans, Colombians, all that. Mina, Arkansas was where they would train pilots to bring in the guns and bring back the drugs during Iran-Contra.
I'm surprised they didn't bring the coroner Fahmy Malik in on Epstein's autopsy, because that was the guy.
Well, he had 2 autopsies, and they did find a broken bone in his neck. So he was strangled. And there was some other inconsistencies, like a pathologist could explain it better than me. I don't know, but I'm just saying, I believe them. His blood shouldn't have coagulated like this, and he was choked out. So it wasn't something he did to himself. It couldn't have been. And the way his body was too, either he wasn't completely dead so he could move a bit or something. He wasn't placed. It didn't work. He was on the floor, by the way. He wasn't like hanging still. So they're all points that his brother raised last night on Pierce. So why do you maybe I will watch that? I don't like Pierce, but yeah, I'll see what that's worth watching, I guess.
Why do you think this client list has just been released? Because wasn't it under Trump's reign that it all came out last time?
It hasn't been released. Like what's happened is the media is super lazy, and I don't know if they use AI or what, because I've seen this like in like New York newspapers and stuff where they're like the list and they have 100 names, just exactly 100. I have 177 names, but what they do is they just list whoever was mentioned, including the people telling on them, the butlers, the chefs, the drivers, the bodyguards who were telling them that have nothing to do with this. Other names in there, and this really makes me mad. is this clickbait crap where they'll be like, new names, Leonardo DiCaprio, Bruce Willis, Cameron Diaz, and everyone's like, ooh, celebrity, I know those people's movies. Let me give you the context for Willis and DiCaprio, for example. The only thing in these documents, at least, that mention them is when they claim Epstein would often name drop, like, oh yeah, I just got off the phone with Leo or Cameron. He's full of shit. This is the guy that wear a Harvard sweatshirt when he didn't go to Harvard. Couldn't even get through the door there. He misspelled his own name on the chalkboard when he's at the Dalton School. He wrote Stein, Stine. He's a con artist. And so they asked them, did you ever see Leonardo DiCaprio or Bruce Willis at any of these dinners? No. Any of these places? No. Are they in the flight logs? No. Did they make any appointments? No. So yeah, technically their names in the document, have you ever seen, heard, or anything of these people? No. How about the rest of you? No. So they're completely exonerated. But their names were put all over social media as like Leonardo DiCaprio, because he does like young girls. I don't think he has any trouble getting them on his own, but they have them all in there. And then if you read it, because most people don't read past the title, it says, not everyone mentioned here necessarily was like, yeah, duh. But how many people are going to get the primary source, read through thousands of pages until they get to that part and find out, oh, all they're doing is asking, have you ever seen these people? And the answer is no. Another one is Stephen Hawkins.
I was about to say Hawkins. Him, yeah. Big focus on him here.
Yeah, huge. And I feel bad. He's not around to defend himself. He's passed away. His work on the preservation of information through Hawking radiation on black holes is probably correct. He's going to be known as like our generation's Einstein, maybe. He's done brilliant work in science. He had a horrible, ALS way to, he's stuck in a chair. The only thing, they did target science and tech. That's what their job was to do. That's why they went after Eric Weinstein, Steven Pinker, Hawkins, all the top science celebrities, if there is such a thing. And most of them didn't take the bait. Eric Weinstein thought he was a construct, thought he was weird, saw the camera in a plant, and deduced this guy's working for Israel. He pretty much said it. He gave every hint. He ended a long video about it with an analogy to a known spy for Israel and Lebanon who used honey traps. So he knew. Pinker thought he was a moron. He'd take the money because, this is a billionaire. You want to donate to our sciencey stuff? Fine. But when Epstein would try and talk about physics, he would just like roll his eyes. Oh, one of these people, he didn't like him at all. Steve Hawkins was taken to Epstein property. Once he's there, he's stuck. He's in a fucking chair. Okay. But the only time they mentioned him was in an email from Epstein to Maxwell trying to discredit Virginia Roberts, where he says, do you know any of Virginia's friends that would, discredit her story about, these alleged things, or her latest version where Stephen Hawkins is in an orgy? The reason he said that is because that's ridiculous, because Stephen Hawking can't even move. He's got one finger in like his head to hit he can't be in a sex orgy. I could look at one, I guess. He could do that on his computer anyway. It's dumb. And so they're saying, like in her latest tall tale, she had an orgy with Stephen Hawkins, which is not even physically possible. She's trying to set up a way to discredit Virginia Giuffre and say she's a kook. You can't then, from that, and that's all it is, say, there's Stephen Hawkins' name. He's a client. He's on the client list. No, he isn't. Not one victim said they had to do anything with Stephen Hawkins. No one came forward and said anything going around like
here's
that.
The thing in the media here has been the thing with the midgets, the small people.
Yeah, that's this is just like when they said there was a tunnel under the island, like below sea level, which is so stupid. They didn't spend $5 million on a green helicopter to then build the tunnel. It's just dumb. They said Epstein's still alive and he went to Israel. Look at his ear. There's a lot of kook stuff that comes out right away. And they're like, oh yeah, Hawkins was into midget fantasies. And like, you guys, did you read these? Did you think about this? That guy is one of the most noticeable ones. Who else is handicapped in a chair? If any of the girls were forced to play with his balls or whatever, they would have said, even if they didn't know who Stephen Hawking was, one time I had to sleep with a handicapped guy in a wheelchair. No one said that because he didn't do it. Or if he did, it's not in any of these documents. I'm just giving examples of the lazy reporting of these lists that go around. The other things they've done with preempted this file dump was they would just take screenshots from the black book and go, look, this is the list. No, that's most likely Maxwell's book, actually, not Epstein's. That's just everyone they ever met. And everyone they ever met is not into this stuff. Not everyone they knew what they were doing, obviously. Or they would take pictures of the flight logs. Now, the flight logs is better than the black book because then that's like they're agreeing to be with them. We all know what happened on those planes. But still, there were some times they really did do just regular flights. That's not good enough. You can't just flippantly accuse someone of rape. Okay. And that's just lazy. Now, when you get flight logs that are part of a lawsuit that tried to give co-conspirators immunity, it means co-conspirators, then you got something. So this new file dump, the problem is half the time, the most frequent flyers are only initials. They never write out their name. But it is not hard to deduce who it is. I mean, it is hard in the sense of just tedious, but it's not real hard. It just takes time. And we've decoded that thing. The best thing to really compile an actual client list is listening to the victims. And they know who they were forced to sleep with. And they can prove that that person was in that state and that city at that time. Like, how would that kid know that, There's ways to corroborate it. And there's also, in some cases, like Prince Andrew was so stupid, he got a Polaroid picture in Maxwell's house with Virginia, who's drunk. She's underage. So I think the age of consent in the UK might have been 16 at that time, but it doesn't matter because she didn't consent. But you still have plied a girl with alcohol, and that's illegal. And she's American, and she can't consent. So it's disgusting, man. But sometimes it's so dumb. They're photographed with the girls. But a lot of them were like, it's your word versus mine. Kind of gives a Dershowitz defense. Like, if you don't have me on tape banging a girl, then I just happened to be in the same house at the same time, getting a massage with my underwear on, but I didn't rape anybody. What a schmuck. But Hawkins, there's no one came forward and said they'd do anything with a man in a chair. Okay. Leonardo wasn't there. Bruce Willis wasn't there. Cameron Diaz wasn't there. David Copperfield was there. But David Copperfield's there quite a lot. But he may have been the entertainment or both. But he should have right away, and maybe he did. I don't know. He should have said, yeah, I knew him. I used to do magic for them, but I didn't know they were doing this and that. I knew there were a lot of girls. I thought it was sketchy, but I was too afraid to really do anything because they're so rich and powerful. Something like that. But apparently he did ask a girl, do you know anything about girls getting paid to bring more girls here? But again, you can take that statement two ways. Is he saying that as in an encouraging way? Like, hey, do you know if you can bring more girls here, you get paid? Or have you heard this rumor too? I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. It depends. But that's the depends category. Just about everyone else is guilty as sin, And we've compiled it. And it's not only the rape, it's white collar crime too. A lot of people on this list did both. Helped him moving money around. And Steve Hoffenberg went to prison for their scandal with Pan Am and Tower Financial, and somehow Epstein didn't. And when Bronfman and him were going after Joseph B. Tomei and has set up all those hostile takeovers for these Panama companies and things, Joe St. Minerals, and nothing, like, no one important got in trouble. And it's like, yeah, because Epstein is tied to Israel and can do no wrong. It's very hard to just quickly replace that. Oh yeah, hey, let's find some pervert, who speaks English, that lives there. Nah. And yeah, so we have a real list, but the list, they keep saying they've published a list. No, they haven't. This is the list, and I've published a list, and very judiciously, like, I have a pretty high standard. If you don't get on the list unless you really, really did it, not just you're on a plane. That's not enough. That's not enough evidence. Oh, yeah, man.
We were gearing up to interview Steve Hoffenberg, and then he died.
I know, it sucks. But he did do some interviews, and he seemed to truly remorse ripping off all those people and try to pay him back. So, but it was weird. Epstein was the brainchild or whatever behind that whole plan, and just not only got away with it, got promoted, got to keep climbing the ladder. And when he was at Bear Stearns, he seemed to get to know every operation in there. When Ace Greenberg brought him in, usually you have in mind, okay, you're going to be this position. You don't get to go look at all the positions unless your real role is to go around to all the positions and compromise as many people as you can. Get to know them all. And I think that's what Maxwell was doing with her Oceans charity, that Termar Oceans charity. Oh, that's a great thing. Clean up the ocean. Who disagrees with that? Who's like, no, I want to pollute the water? Nobody, right? So it's like a safe Sherlock type of thing. Like, yeah, let's clean the water. Why not? She got to go to the UN 9 times to talk about this. 9 times. They all know her by her first name. Ha ha, tummy. Which means she gets to rub shoulders with all the most important UN officials. That gave her access to UN parties, and afterward, let's hang out. She gets her talons, her claws in all these UN officials, and the whole reason for the charity, I believe, was just a pretext to get her next to those people, to get her access.
All right, just let me give a summary for the viewers so far then. There's all this news headlines about the Epstein client list. You're saying it's a bit of a whitewash. The real focus should be on the names on your list.
Disinformation. Yeah, it's disinformation because a lot of the celebrities is just clickbait. But some of it's real. That's what sucks. It's like, yeah, like some of these other names they're saying were there and probably in rape kid, like all that. Clinton for sure. Prince Andrew for sure. These names are good. They only pick the celebrity names though. They're like Clinton, Andrew, and then they add like Bruce Willis and Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel's not even in the list at all, like in any context. And his name keeps coming up. I'm like, please stop reproducing fake lists. They even took a segment out where a girl's being questioned, a real segment, and then added his name in it and stuck it on Twitter. I'm like, you assholes are making my job so much harder. Because I've read these documents many times. His name is not in there. And then I see it. And then people are like, oh, you shill? What do you like, Jimmy Kimmel? No, I don't like him at all. Don't know him, really. I just know his, but I don't like his work or anything. But he didn't rape anybody. He's not in there. Yeah.
Ryan,
I hate having to defend people like that. I can't stand some of these people. He didn't do it.
In your opinion, then, this recent release, then, is there anything in there that's good and new to focus on?
Yeah, there's a few new names, like and then of course the big thing is proving the relationship between Harvey Weinstein and the Wexners. I think that's big. And it's also just the frequency of it. Like, we knew so and so went to the island or went to Florida, but not 50 times. It shows how tight they were. And we also got the names of more of the victims, and so there's more people you can talk to and more information that can come out. So it's definitely the biggest thing it did is reinvigorate interest in the case, because half the stuff I've said to you, even if you reached 1 million people, that's not enough, and of course you weren't allowed to have them on YouTube. So this gets almost another generation of people excited in this case, saying, what the hell? Why do they know Tony Blair? That's not just some schmuck. It's Tony Blair. He's the former Prime Minister of the UK. What are you doing?
Peter Mandelson was big in there as well.
Yeah, Peter Mandelson, and like big names. And there's senators, governors, Governor Mitchell, or Bill Richardson, sorry, Senator Mitchell, Governor Richardson. And of course, when Epstein wanted to change the zoning laws for his Zorro Ranch, the governor did it because he's got him by the shorties. Yeah, that must be nice. Yeah, there's some big names, and there were some new ones, and there were some that were like we knew, but it was like yeah, no. But now you know because it's official. They're making requests for massages. And that was one of the interesting thing. I saw a lot of the people who covered it. It seemed like they used AI or something because they just grabbed all the names that were in the text and none of the handwritten stuff. But all the flight logs and receipts are handwritten. And that's the juiciest stuff. And they didn't look at it or something. And so there's a lot in there. And that's something I want to comb over again, because sometimes you see a name or something and they don't seem that important at the time. Then you find all these other things out. You're like, wait a minute, I remember reading about that before. Now let's look at this again. And it's a much bigger deal.
Do you think any of this information could lead to legal proceedings, new ones?
I think they have to work out the ones that have already begun. The worst perpetrators are already dead or jailed, with Maxwell and Burnell and Epstein. I think Jess Staley is on thin ice. I think Leon Black's on ice, and I think Les Wexner ought to be on thin ice, but they can't get Wexner. Wexner is so essential to Israeli power in the United States that he's just untouchable.
That's a shame.
Unfortunately, it is.
Yeah.
But some of the lower tier people, yeah, like Alan Dershowitz wanted to represent Israel in this court case against the International Court of Justice, and they told him no, not after these files.
Good. He was on Piers Morgan as well the other night, saying that the only person he slept with was his wife. Yeah,
right. He got up there and said, why are the feminists talking about all of Epstein's associates? Why don't you talk about the Hamas rapes of thousands of Jewish girls? Like, suddenly the rapes went from, well, none to a few to thousands of Jewish girls. Like, really? October 7th, they broke out on a military operation and stopped to rape thousands of people. There is no evidence of any Hamas rapes at all. No victims come forward, no witnesses other than the David Ben Zion and these weirdos that made up the stories about 40 beheaded babies and the rest of the shit. The hostages they had total control of for months weren't raped. And they're alive and can say so. No one touched me. I was treated well. Da, 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 da. They just made that up. They have to, because they have nothing real to point to. They have to justify what they're doing, bombing apartments full of people and killing tens of thousands of children, babies, hospitals, churches, mosques, homes, nothing safe. They blew up Gaza, Dresden style, with the people in it with nowhere to go. They built a wall around them with machine guns pointed at them. You wonder why there's October 7th? Because there was an October 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, on for 75 years of brutal military occupation. That's why. It's like, why was there a slave revolt in Haiti where they killed the French? We're like, because you enslaved them, probably. You know, what you expect was going to happen. Yes, it's violent, it's horrible, but man, you can't start the story in the middle and act like that happened out of the blue because they're anti-Semitic or something. They did it because you abuse them daily. They murdered 224 Palestinians last year before October 7th, all in silence.
So it's sad that about Les Wexner being untouchable. Do you think Bill Clinton remains untouchable?
That is a very powerful man, and he looks weird. Like it looks like this has done a number on his health. He looks like he aged 20 years in the last year. It's messed with him some. And he's always been able to laugh this off, like from Jennifer Flowers onward, the Arkansas rapes where he liked to bite people's lips, apparently. He leaves whatever, he's weird. It floated through him. Then he had Lewinsky. Like, the guy's been a career pervert, and then the Epstein stuff comes. He does look stressed, and he is on these planes, but he's just like, is anybody going to indict or anything? No, he's Bill Clinton. You know, it's not just that he was president. It's that family and those foundations are tied so deep into organized crime. It's kind of like, if I go down, you go down with me. And so either nothing's going to happen or it's all going to happen. Because if it does hit the fan, it's really going to hit the fan, because that's what they do. They start telling on each other. That's what happened with Operation Car Wash in Brazil. Like, as soon as Brazil never had a system like the U.S. where you can plea bargain if you tell on the person above you, and then they got one, and everybody started telling on everybody. But it was so many, went all the way up to like governors and things that they didn't know what to do. So, and I think that's how it is. It's so rotten. We were talking about Bear Stearns, Goldman Sachs, Chase Bank, with J.P. Morgan, and Hollywood producers, and all these billionaires, man. A lot of the people, if you look at this in gold, all the yellow, if that shows up, are billionaires. There aren't that many billionaires in the world, and there's a lot on this list. And then some of the ones in white are heads of state. That's what these little balls are. Like there's an Israeli flag for that, there's American flag, UK flag. What? So yeah, you ask like, oh, can we prosecute these people? I'm not sure. Not when it's the who's who of several different nations. Like who's above them? Who watches the watchers? They had Louis Freeh. They had William Burns, who's now the current director of the CIA, was in bed with Epstein. Of course, they're not looking at it. And he got appointed after Epstein had been arrested.
Can people contact you, Ryan, to get that limited edition T-shirt?
Oh yeah, this one's no longer limited edition. This one's just gone, but that's not as important as this one. You can get this one until they shoot me or something. It's got a nice map on the front.
Until they shoot me.
Yeah, I'll never kill myself. It's on my website.
You still have maps for sale?
That thing behind me? Yeah.
Yep.
There's two. You see a white one and a green one?
Yeah.
Which is the Epstein crime map, and below also involves the Wexner family and the Rothschild family and the Bronfman family, like all the same people, and that's about the theft of highly enriched uranium where Israel built their bomb. And here's a bridge. The whistleblower that Mordecai Vanunu, who took the pictures of the warheads that Israel had made by stealing uranium from the United States, was caught in a honey trap by the Mossad, and guess who told on him? Robert Maxwell, Lynn Maxwell's father. So the same people, Wexner's, Bronfman, and so on, that are helping the theft of uranium and set up a honey trap to get the whistleblower are the ones who were financing his daughter and Epstein.
Wow.
And when Acosta said, I was told to back off, this is intelligence, it's not the Chinese. Okay, it's not Iran. it's Israel. Like, duh.
So let the viewers know where they can find and support you, Ryan.
This, like on my hat, says ancreport.com. If you click on the shop tab, or if you're on a phone, you click on the little hamburger and go to shop, you can get that shirt, you can get that map or the other map and a bunch of other goodies. That's a way to support. It's like you could give a donation, but like you could also buy something, and that's like giving a donation and you get something cool. And yeah, that's a great conversation starter. This one's really fun. I understand a map is easier than wearing it around, but like if you're if you're willing to speak to people, because they will say, "What's that? Where'd you get it?" But yeah, if you walk around with this, they'll say, "Let me see that." People might even say, "Can I take a picture of that?" That's up to you. You'd be like, "Hey, that's a picture," whatever.
What if you show up at a Hillary Clinton speaking engagement wearing that?
Oh man. What if you showed up around their palace wearing this? I tell you what, Shaun, I was actually invited to London to do a show with Pearl Davis, and if I end up doing that, I will wear this, and maybe I can meet you as well.
Oh, absolutely, man. Let us know.
Yeah.
When you come to London. We got to sit down, definitely.
ancreport.com, and that's, I have a Twitter too. That's what my handle right there, Rye Liberty. Knock on wood. I've had it less than a year, It says I've been there since 2009, but I haven't. I've banned all the way until January of last year. So I'm coming up on the anniversary 1 year on Twitter. Almost.
Thanks, Elon.
Yeah, really. Like, thank you, Elon. It's I think I'm at 170 something thousand, and for me, that might not seem a big deal to you, whatever. But for me, this is huge because I've been banned on everything. I don't have a YouTube or a Facebook or anything to feed my Twitter with. That's just, I got that by tweeting, which is hard. So I appreciate people following me on that, and that's there, and my website's there. And I do have a Telegram and a Substack, but if you go to Telegram, just know that, I disavow. So I have not control of everyone else. They're pretty hardcore.
Yeah, so for people listening on audio, the Twitter handle is at RYLiberty. Liberty.
Liberty.
Yeah.
And yeah, you should watch this video because I've been flashing maps and names and stuff. So yeah, I even notebooked it in, and this is pages. This is so disgusting. And like, God, William Burns, Boatstein, Shimon Perez, that's another one. It's so bad and so huge. This is such a big story, and everyone's scared. I'm like, why? They're dead or in jail, most of them. And if the other ones are innocent, okay, then a court can decide that. Because it doesn't look like it. I mean, I don't think these girls are just making this up. If they are, okay, but like, what? Why would they even know who you are when that happened to them like that? That Glenn Dubin's not some famous guy like Bill Gates. Who is that? You'd have to have heard his name. You have to have met him. It has to be like that. And you see all the emails. You can see him scheduling massages. Is so-and-so working today? Da-da-da-da-da. Oh, I pulled my shoulder. You're going to be here a lot, right? It's disgusting. And that guy marries Epstein's ex-girlfriend. They made him the godfather of their daughter. I want all these people in jail. I want everybody wearing that shirt if you can. It's like, or I don't know, or if not, just you got to keep talking about this. You can't let this go. This can't be like, oh, the next something happens like tunnels in New York or whatever, and everyone drops the Epstein. If they blow up a boat and blame it on Iran or whatever, okay, that's a big deal. But don't stop talking about Epstein. This is how they have so much power, is through blackmail and persuasion. Israel and other states, they would not be able to get away with this if they didn't have such a clutch on mass media and politicians. And I really think it's fading. And I close every show like this recently. I've been saying, as censorship fades, so too does Zionist power. For they were ever only able to operate in the dark. The demons covet the darkness.
Indeed. Well said, my friend. And we salute you on your mission. And we hope to have Ryan back in the coming weeks and months as we continue this series. And we'll see if there's any other developments. So please support his work. Check out the map, t-shirt, his books. And we will see you next time. Thank you for tuning in. Take care, people.
Oh, Shaun, one more thing. My pinned tweet. Everyone should watch that movie because it goes over that green map. And that is how this whole thing started. Like before the Dalton School and bar and all that. Before that, there was already a group in place. It's got like 1,000,006 views or something. Check it out, son. It's called NUMEC. It tells you why they killed JFK, how they stole the bomb, and the precursor for the Epstein ring. If that's not exciting, it has to be, or you wouldn't listen this long. So go to my Twitter, check out the pinned tweet. And I appreciate this. You were the guy that really helped me be known again when I was banned on everything. It was your show, and I've been plugging you on every show I go to. I said, well, I was on with Shaun Attwood, and we discussed da-da-da-da-da. So I hope I help you too.
Oh, yes, I appreciate that, Ryan. And it's your hard work and your research, that makes you shine and people gravitate towards you. So,
well, it takes both. You need research, you need exposure. So I appreciate it too.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, viewers. Please support Ryan. We'll see you next time. Take care wherever you are in the world. Cheerio.
bam! Just learned they cropped off half of January for some freaking reason. The beauty of diversity and equity hires. I think the rest of it's okay. I got an army trying to get in my room. The PP Poo Poo Man sends in 50, says, "Sup Attwood, sup Rye. Fuck Lincoln. Meet me in the sewers, Maury. I'll shred your pole like a rascal rat. Cowabunga." I guess that's some Ninja Turtle reference. Couldn't possibly think of anybody else that lived in tunnels in New York right now. They never did explain what they're doing. Maybe somebody said the Epstein files dropped, so they needed a place to hide. Dog shit poster 6'9" says, how would I read this? Shit. My nibbas, y'all. Straight up killing it, dog. Shit. He paid $5 to have me say that. Yeah, we're killing it on Epstein. It's not going to move until you get some bigger media to talk about this. And they're all scared to death. Epstein, Schmepstein. It's the group behind him that matters the most, the mega group. And that is everything from Wexner to Spielberg. It's a bunch of Zionist Jews. They call upon them all the time for their big money when they need big donors. Or like even when they went after David Irving. That was Wexner. That was Abigail Wexner and Les Wexner. There's video of Deborah Lipstadt bragging about it. The Bronfman cult. They've financed multiple pedo rings. That was a lot of the money behind John McCain. John Weaver, the Lincoln Project, all these pedos, these pedo producers at CNN. They're all into kitty fucking. It's a bunch of satanic pedophiles. They run every institution. We don't have justice in the world because the just don't have power. And as for Israel's court case, the majority of it's the Security Council plus 10, I think. Well, you know Germany's going to capitulate to Israel. You know the US is going to capitulate to Israel. So will the UK. So what's left? France, maybe. They'll probably capitulate to Israel too. The other 10 will not. But the rest of those are going to roll over, and then they can threaten Russia and China with their own genocides, although they're not. The Uyghur thing is nothing like Gaza. Chinese military did not take jets and blow up apartments. It's not comparable. But they'll threaten them with that. Like, it's all political. It's not based on what they did, what they're doing, whether it's genocide or not. It's just like, oh, how is this to our advantage or disadvantage? It's not about the truth. It's not how politics works. Politics is rotten. Always has been. Looking down. Dog shit poster 6'9". Have you announced when the new Empire Unmasked will be out? I do not know when it will be out. We raised the money. I'm still waiting for that money to get to the LLC bank account. And then I have to pay all the artists and stuff. You can't just instantly make it. You have to have the money first. You have to get paid. Then you can produce. It'll be out this year. I know that. As to when, I don't know. I don't even have a tower until the 19th. I'll be doing the audio. I think I'll get my audio done within a few days of quiet. Like anytime the kids are at school and I can get a big chunk of time, I can knock it out because I've already done it once. Penfold with 2 dead Lincolns says Bill Clinton raped a 19-year-old girl while he was at Oxford University. That's what got him kicked out. Not sure if he bit her lip, though. Don't know about that one. I can't even keep track of all the accusers for Bill Clinton. I do know he was a biter. He bites lips. He bites buttocks. He likes to bite. I don't know. Weird ass Bill. But they had him profiled. Got him in to be governor. Got him in, Slick Willie, to be president. 2-termer. When you got someone that compromised, they're definitely getting 2 terms. I wonder what Bush the Lesser was up to with Jeff Gannon, a male prostitute, going in and out of the White House without having to sign in. I don't know if that was with Miss Piggy or they're all degenerate. It's the press is compromised. You have to get rid of Zom before you can get rid of Zog. The Zionist occupation media protects the Zionist occupation government. And X platform and Telegram and Substack are making a dent there. But it's just not enough. The kook movement's taken over Epstein. They're talking about midgets and all this dumb stuff. As I said, if Stephen Hawkins was guilty of anything, somebody would definitely remember that because they were forced to have sex with some weird guy in a chair. That's a very memorable thing. Not one girl said anything about that. He was targeted because he's in science and technology. That's what Israel was stealing. And they've just run his name through the mud. And it's all because of Epstein again. He sent a letter to Maxwell trying to discredit Virginia Giuffre by saying she's claimed to have an orgy with Hawkins. Ha ha ha. Do you not see the intent there is to make her look ridiculous because Stephen Hawkins can't even move his arms? They don't care. They're like, haha, the science guy. Stale Bagels for 20 says, fuck Lincoln, fuck Bush, fuck Netanyahu, fuck Cheney, fuck Ben Shapiro, and fuck everyone in the ADL. I think you could fuck everyone in the ADL with a Ben Shapiro. He's small enough, Ben aside Shapiro. I think Jonathan Greenblatt would probably enjoy that. XD Wiz with a dead Lincoln. Great calendar. I love every 25th. I love how every 25th is a happy day for John McCain. Yeah, may he rest in hell. Keep up the awesome work and condolences for Lyra. One phone call, they could have gotten him out of prison, and they didn't do it. He's 55 years old. He's a father. He's saving money. They extorted him out of that, too, while he was in jail. I have his work on Substack. I did an interview with him, a long interview last February. We did one. It's creepy, man. I'm looking at our DMs. You know, I hadn't talked to him since August. I don't think anybody had. He'd been sick since October. You think the first time they arrested him, they scratched the white part of his eye with a toothpick. They broke his ribs. They smashed his sternum in, bruised him up, you know, dislocated his shoulders, twisted arms, all that, just beat his ass. And nothing. I mean, Chile sent a wellness check, but they just came in, saw him, saw all the bruises, said nothing to see here. I mean, that's Ukraine. It's corrupt. They don't care. All those prisoners are getting abused. They abuse American like that, they're definitely abusing Russians. That's just how it is. There's no human rights, and there's no human rights organizations. As Cersei said, power is power, and America has the power, and America is run by Zionist satanic pedophiles. By satanic, you know what I mean. Every 25th, though. John McCain death anniversary. Let's see. No, he had pneumonia, and he had like two kinds in both lungs, edema. He was messed up, and they didn't even do anything till December 23rd or 22nd, I think. You know, just before Christmas. But all of November, he suffered and was sick, was passing out, fainting after just a couple minutes of activity or talking. He couldn't breathe. They let him die. Elon Musk naively tried to talk about it, like Zelensky gives a damn. Tucker Carlson interviewed Lyra's father. And that was it, really. There wasn't no real major news networks or people to do anything. And it's sad, like, hey, you actually have a voice. Can you say something for us? All the people who tend to know these things inside and out don't have any reach. You know why that is? because they've either been outright banned or shadow banned. Zog made sure of that. People with a lot of reach are the ones doing silly shit, talking about UFOs or, male-female dynamics. Stuff is not, I don't know. The pranksters and stuff and the OnlyFans people have more attention than real journalists. Is this overlapping? It better not be looping. Okay. I was just looking at Rumble and I'm like, I see Shaun. Oh, here it is. So this is the camera that I've always had. It just could never work with Restream in the old tower I had. It died. It started going, making a noise like that. Damn. It's definitely on its last leg. 19th, it clears customs. That's the rumor. We'll see. I've been waiting since November for a tower. Why, when he was kidnapped, everybody thought he died. When he died, everyone thought he didn't. And you guys. I mean, I guess it's possible Ukraine would lie. That's not a shock. And then they could lie to his family. So, but it's documented. He'd been sick. They all said he died in prison. I saw a couple reports for no. They finally, as he died, they took him to the hospital. He died in the hospital in Kharkiv. NAFO's celebrating it. I don't care what he did to the coach Red Pill and whatever. This was a father. This was a journalist. He did, regardless of motives or whatever, give accurate reporting on the Ukraine oligarchs, their extrajudicial killings and kidnappings, and covered the Ukraine-Russia war. And did so accurately. Was he a little edgy? I don't mind that. So am I. They killed him, man. They let him die. An American. That's what they'd like to do to all of us. Victoria Nuland, that evil little troll, she wants you dead. She wants you replaced. She'd like to wipe out your entire gene pool. She's not human. This cult is anti-human. They do want depopulation, but not everyone. This Kalergi fantasy, that's a real thing. Annie Hooters. Looks like I need to start saving up for a trip to London. I said I'd never be back. But the combination of Shaun Attwood and Pearl Davis pulls me there. I wish I could go to Ireland, and I don't know if it would be worth it now that COVID restrictions are over and stuff. If I could, again, try to get my YouTube back, even for a day, so I could tell all my subs, hey, we're over here on Rumble now, because I'm not going to use it. They'll just yank it away again. I wonder. I just don't know. I think I got lucky last time. We shall see. We're going to be working on Empire. We're going to have Jeremy McKenzie on the show. Kit Clarenberg and I will be doing spaces, maybe on the regular. And then, now that this setup is working, I'm going to have guests on. We'll bring the guests back on the show. There's so many pedophile rings. It's like, there's recently, guys, 7 men raped 2 toddlers in a bathroom in Texas. And Jake Shields had a good point. How did 7 guys all know each other? That there was, some guys like, hey, here's 6 other male homosexual pedophiles willing to gang rape kids with me. Because there's websites for this shit. That's the real dark web. Remember when they released sex tapes in the Senate hearing room. 2 guys butt fucking in the congressional building. 2 different tapes. They had a website where they exchanged this crap like trading cards. It was some staffers and they got fired. But that's the shot across the bow. When they were talking about not giving Ukraine and Israel their money, they're like, whoa, whoops, look at this. Some staffers on tape having butt sex. Guess who else we have on tape? Guess you better vote the way we told you to. And they did. First thing the new Speaker of the House did was a resolution supporting Israel. Come on, people. They're all messed up. Except for Thomas Massey and a few, like, the names of the good ones. The rest of them are like, yeah, I'll vote. Someone could sit there with their eyes and see homes being blown up with people in them. They know that's wrong. You have to. They don't care. Because they'd go to jail if Israel released what they have on these people. They tap their phones. They spy on the White House phone with stingrays. Got caught. Nothing happened. Why not? Why are they above punishment? Just how much dirt does Jewish organized crime have on these people? XDViz says, Vivek tweeted about Lira, but I still don't trust him. My gut tells me he's a plant to take Trump's base. Well, he deserves to have his base taken if they go to Vivek. And the guy is saying some of the right things, but at the end of the day, he's a Zionist too. He might be vying for a vice presidential position, but I can promise you, America's not going to vote for Vivek because he's not a Christian. It shouldn't matter at all that he's Hindu, but it does. They're not going to vote for him. You need the South. The South is red. Those are the states that vote Republican. They will not vote for a guy, no matter what he says, if he's not religious, or at least pretend to be. And it has to be that religion. But he could be VP. You should start saying Kamala Harris the way they do Hamas, like Kamala Harris. Paul got a good point too. The word in Arabic, when you add the K, changes the word Hamas to a different meaning. I don't want to butcher it, but it was something like the struggle becomes the large theft or something like that. Stale Bagels says, it's the culture we design. They love pedophiles. This isn't new. There's just a whole lot more spotlight on it. The cancer started in Hollywood. You get all these adults around children when you have child actors. Almost no child actor came out unscathed. The guy that played Alfalfa in Little Rascals, Steven Spielberg, is coming out saying that as soon as he got on set, 2 men molesting him, 8-year-old boy. It's a story we hear all the time. And he's like, well, that's just how California is. Like, no, it's not just California. 7 gay men just raped 2 toddlers in a bathroom. How desperate do you have to be? Lured them into a toilet somewhere. Gallery Mall. What was it? Something like that. Why do so many people, gay and straight, sexualize children? It's something I'll never understand. You're supposed to have an innate biological need to protect kids. Not only your own, but any baby, any child. You protect them from predators. It's natural. They just look at them as like innocent things to destroy. Break their psyche through rape and abuse. This is how demons procreate. Destruction and abuse of the innocent. They got a little temple out there on St. Jeffrey's. Look at the white and blue color scheme. Ezekiel 8. I saw a hole in the wall. And the Lord told me to dig at it. And what was behind the wall? You can go look it up. This is the name. Makulatorin. Don't know what language that is, but Vivek is going to be on Fresh and Fit. Maybe you could get an interview through them. Vivek was already on the Jackson Brothers. You should check it out. Jackson Radio. I guess I could interview Vivek. I haven't even tried because I had a broken tower. I missed opportunities. And yeah, I want to know. If I can talk to someone, I could tell, is this some charm school fraud or not? But, he he's up there with a bunch of lunatics. Shouldn't be easy. It should be easy, but it shouldn't be. It is easy to beat them. DeSantis doesn't know how to talk to regular people. Nikki Haley she's the measuring stick for how Israel someone can be. We say on a scale of 8 to Nikki Haley, how pro-Israel are you? That woman might as well do bukkake at the Knesset. That's good to know. Vivek's going on Fresh and Fit. It's good to know that Fresh and Fit they just had me on. They're having Vivek on. I think they're trying to get Ritter on in the future. He's in Russia right now, though, but they're moving away from the talking to dumb Miami whores to more substantive content. I mean, it's because it's the kind I like. I can't sit there and watch them try to educate retarded women they found in a club somewhere, but how many times, bringing on guests to talk about politics, with somebody that used to work at the DHS is better wheelhouse for Myron, I think, especially. So more of that, I hope. And I bet they could get Trump on too. We'll see. I'm going to have Dr. Shiva on again. We got a lot to go through. Clarenberg, Jake Shields, Dr. Shiva, Larry Johnson. When Ritter gets back to the U.S., I'll hit him up. Andrei Martinyanov, Ray McGovern, Lawrence Wilkerson. He had a great interview with Adam Fitzgerald. Of course, Fitzgerald could come back on too. I'll try to see if Horton wants to talk about Epstein. I don't know. That's not really an anti-war thing, but it kind of is because that is one of the results of the blackmail. So we'll see. There's some other big guests. I had them all in the queue. Oh, Eli Schaefer wanted to interview me, have me on a debate or something. I kept saying, I can't. I don't have a machine. Now I do. So we'll see what happens there. Penfold with 10. What do you think of Dr. Shiva? Seems like he has receipts on Trump and Jr. and Vivek. I think he's the best candidate out there. I like him. He was very educated. When I talked to him, and he's making analogies and drawing content from different philosophers and historical figures and things. It's good. It's, after being on Twitter Spaces for long enough, it's a relief to talk to someone with an education. He's the only non-Zionist candidate, and yeah, he seems to have receipts on them all. Little bit too much. If this is just constructive criticism, too much of a purity spiral. You got to have some allies. Sometimes you got to accept other people's flaws, because not everyone's Ron Paul. Not everyone's going to be, oh, you had this thing. Okay. I won't say who, but I've advocated like, oh, could you interview Thomas Sowell? I'm like, nah, he sucks on Iran. Like, yes, he does. Don't talk to him about Iran then. He's so good on the sociological stuff and combating the woke mind virus that, Okay, he's an old man. He don't like Iran, whatever. And I can go through all those guests I just named, and you can find something, you know. And I think when like Vivek or not Vivek, because his criticism of Vivek and his mom and what they did, ripping all those people off, is just so hard hitting. Fine. When he's going after Tucker because his dad was in the CIA, that doesn't make Tucker in the CIA. Tucker used to say he's very bad on China and Iran too. And yet he's one of the only people, though, and let's admit this, in the mass media to stand up for the people arrested on January 6th and show the footage and talk about COINTELPRO and all. He did that. He interviewed Andrew Tate. Tucker's been the only guy to do a lot of things right, even though he also still does things that are wrong. Like the Chi Coms and talking about he wanted to nuke Iran. I hope that's not still his opinion. He used to be a full-on establishment shill. It was his son who started reading Ron Paul that got in his ear and started converting Tucker, bringing him closer to our side. But I feel like when someone's moving our direction, even if they used to be establishment, let's continue to bring them our direction instead of saying, well, in the past, you did this, so you suck. I think she was a little bit too hard on these people. There's some others he's just like, not this guy either, or this, like Elon. Elon sucks on a lot, but he's okay, and he's way better than the last guy. I just think you get more flies with honey than vinegar. But anyway, I like Dr. Shiva. I think he's based. I agree with a lot of his ideas, all of them actually that I've heard of. And so that's why I'm going to interview him again. I want him out there, and I want that pressure put on the rest of them. Dr. Shiva saying what he says makes Vivek move our way. It makes them all like they're all afraid of this guy. Can you imagine if Dr. Shiva was on the debate stage? He would annihilate these peons. These people aren't bright at all. They're midwits at best. Vivek maybe, but like the rest of them, Haley's a moron. Mike Pence is gone, but that guy can barely tie his shoes. Surprised he gets him on the correct feet. These people would get messed up by any intelligent person. That's why they don't let you see. They don't let you have access to smart people when it comes. Well, it's not true. RFK Jr. is not dumb, but god damn, he's compromised. They got him over a barrel and then over another barrel. And he met with Epstein and he met with Leon Black. And it was more than just taking flights. They're there at the New York art shows together. The dude is a little cretin, and he's got some Rabbi Shmuley, the dildo salesman that runs through hotels in a towel, talking about how persecuted he is. XD Wiz says Ron Paul is not the father. Oh, Rand Paul is not his father, but him. And Thomas Massey is still great. Did you see Rand Paul's hashtag Never Nikki moment he started? That's awesome. No, I will definitely start doing the hashtag Never Nikki, though. I like that. Not a big fan of the knickers. Rand Paul, he's not Ron Paul. His father outshines him, but he doesn't suck. I know he messed up on Afghanistan and he did some mistakes. But if you're trying to compare him to Ron Paul, it's not fair. You're going to compare everyone else to his dad because none of them, they all fall short. None of them can get that level. So yeah, Ron Paul should be something to aspire to, but that should not be the standard, or you're going to end up with nobody and no allies. Politics is about working with people, man. I see the flaws in some of the people I've had on my show, but I don't point them out because it's like a net positive. I got flaws too. You ought to focus on like what they bring to the table, what good comes out of this. Yeah. So stay in your lane. All right. Never Nikki, huh? I like that. They call them the Nickerettes or whatever. The Knickers, the Nikki followers. She's just awful. She is hands down the worst one. Hands down. RFK Jr. is the biggest disappointment, though. They killed his father. And they killed his uncle. And there he is, just servicing the Zionists. Vitriol hatred of Palestinians that guy has. I'd like to get on Patrick Ben David to talk about Epstein. He's had my plagiarist on, so he should have me on. We'll see. We'll see. The movie's financed, though. Still waiting for that to come. They said 2 or 3 business days. I don't know. It's been Saturday, Sunday. Maybe that delayed it. We'll see. Yeah, you can't do this Adam Kokesh crap where, like, if you're not 100% libertarian anarchist, you're a statist shill and you suck. That's just there to push everyone out. That's all that does. Go watch Newmac if you want to learn why they killed JFK. Corey Hughes has a book out. Some of you got mentioned in the acknowledgments. You can get that from Amazon, knock on wood. I miss Piper. I wish he was here to talk about this stuff with me. I miss Justin Raimondo, too. He was just irreplaceable. 3 times a week. Stellar articles. Really dug into things. And then he just moved on and do the next thing. We need minds like that. And we just don't have them anymore. But I'm doing my best. Now let's see.